What happens when science collides with the mysteries of the divine? Dr. Chung, a cognitive psychologist and adventurer, never expected that his search for answers about the human mind would take him to the edge of life and beyond. In 2004, during a solo glider flight in New Zealand, a catastrophic crash changed everything. Falling 200 meters, Dr. Chung's heart stopped, but his consciousness did not. For 11 minutes, he journeyed into a realm of infinite light and unconditional love, an experience that would redefine not only his life, but the very nature of existence as he understood it.
As a scientist, I lived by logic, but in those moments I witnessed something no equation could explain, something profoundly real, yet immeasurable.
What lies beyond the boundary of life? And how did this extraordinary encounter transform a man of science into a messenger of hope? This is the story of one man's journey into the unknown and his return to a purpose greater than himself. In November 2004, Dr. Chung arrived in Derry, a tranquil rural town near Auckland, New Zealand. This was no ordinary trip. It was the pursuit of a dream that had captivated him since childhood. As a cognitive psychologist raised in the bustling cityscape of Hong Kong, the freedom of flight had always symbolized escape, adventure, and possibility.
I loved nature for the sense of peace it gave me, a stark contrast to the concrete jungle I grew up in. Flying high in the limitless sky felt like the ultimate freedom. A year earlier, I had earned my glider pilot's license. This trip to New Zealand for advanced cross-country glider training was the fulfillment of a dream.
On November 9th, the 6th day of training, the weather seemed perfect. With a clear blue sky dotted with scattered clouds, the day held the promise of success. Dr. Chung eagerly climbed into a high-performance glider for his first solo trial flight on this advanced model.
I meticulously completed the safety checks, as I always did. After getting clearance from the flight traffic controller, the glider was ready. As the engine roared to life and the ropes pulled us forward, I felt the familiar thrill of takeoff. The glider lifted gracefully, and the world below fell away.
But this wasn't like his previous training models. Almost immediately, the glider revealed itself to be difficult to control, especially in the unpredictable winds.
At 110 meters, I noticed something was wrong. The glider was climbing too quickly, tilting precariously to the left. I could feel the speed dropping. Panic threatened to set in, but I focused on my training. I tried to disengage the tow rope and stabilize for an emergency landing, but nothing worked. The glider kept climbing, and then, just as suddenly, it began to plummet.
Like Icarus flying too close to the sun, Dr. Chung's dream turned into a nightmare. In a matter of seconds, the glider hurtled from the sky, crashing violently to the ground.
The crash was deafening. Bang! The compartment shattered around me. My seatbelt saved me from being thrown out, but the force drove it painfully into my ribs. I felt a hard blow to the back of my head. And then, nothing. My senses shut down. I was swallowed by silence and darkness, as though someone had turned off the power.
But the crash was only the beginning. What happened next would redefine Dr. Chung's understanding of life, death, and the universe itself. As Dr. Chung's body lay lifeless amidst the wreckage, something extraordinary began to happen. His senses faded, swallowed by silence and darkness, as though the world itself had powered down.
Before I could feel pain, everything went black. My 5 senses shut off, and I was left in complete stillness. It was as if the world had vanished. But then, just as suddenly, the light returned. The light was warm and gentle, like the first rays of the morning sun. It wasn't just light, it was alive, speaking to me without words. The darkness is over. Welcome to the brightness. I was bathed in golden light, embraced by a love so comforting, so complete, that it defied anything I had ever known.
In this radiant realm, Dr. Chung felt his very essence transform. His body was no longer bound by flesh or pain, but seemed to merge with the light itself.
I was a part of the light, yet I still had a form, without edges or limits, like sunlight you can see but can't touch. I felt infinite, weightless, and whole. The warmth and love weren't just around me. They were me.
As Dr. Chung marveled at this ethereal state, he realized something astonishing. He wasn't breathing, nor was his heart beating.
I didn't need to. My body below had stopped, but I felt alive, more alive than ever. I floated weightlessly, suspended in a vacuum, free from gravity and boundaries. I looked down and saw the glider's wreckage, shattered metal and glass scattered everywhere. Then I saw him, a young man, bleeding, broken, barely alive inside the compartment. His arm twisted unnaturally, his ankle crushed, his shirt soaked in blood. That man was me.
Dr. Chung realized his soul had separated from his body. In that moment, he understood he was watching his own death, but there was no fear, only a profound sense of peace.
My body below was broken, dying, but I felt no pain. Instead, there was joy, calm, and awe. I was at once two beings, one bound to the earth and one transcending it.
But this was only the beginning of Dr. Chung's journey into a realm beyond life itself. Dr. Chung's journey into the light wasn't just an escape from the confines of his broken body. It was an awakening. What he found in this realm transcended the boundaries of the physical world.
When my soul left my body, I felt like a new being. All the limitations, pain, and emotions tied to my physical form were gone. I could still see, hear, and feel, but in a completely different way. It was as if my thoughts directed my senses. What I wanted to perceive simply came to me. There was no boundary to my existence. I was part of the light itself. I didn't need breath, nor did my heart beat, but I felt more alive than ever. I understood that the soul's essence doesn't need the physical to exist. I looked down and saw my broken body, lifeless and bleeding amidst the wreckage. My wrist was twisted, the bone exposed. My ankle was shattered beyond recognition, but I felt no fear, no sadness, only peace and an overwhelming sense of detachment.
As Dr. Chung observed his earthly form, the golden light revealed something even deeper, a truth about the soul's connection to the universe.
My perceptions weren't limited by time or space. I could see the intricate web of energy that connects everything. It was as though my mind had unlocked a new dimension of understanding.
But amidst this profound calm, a question arose. A voice, not heard but felt, emerged from the light.
It asked me, "Would you like to go or to stay?" The words weren't spoken but communicated directly into my being. This wasn't just a choice, it was the last question of my life. I couldn't see who or what spoke, only a presence, a being of infinite love and wisdom. Perhaps it was what we call God. It gave me a choice, but before I could answer, it offered me something else. Before you decide, let me show you your life.
In an instant, Dr. Chung was plunged into a life review, a panoramic journey through every moment he had ever lived.
I saw my life as a web of connections, every decision, every relationship, all intricately tied together. I wasn't just watching, I was reliving it, feeling the emotions, the joys, the regrets. It was as if my entire existence unfolded before me, not as separate events, but as a single, interconnected story.
In this profound review, one theme emerged: freedom. Dr. Chung saw how his life had been a relentless pursuit of liberation, from mastering the skies to exploring the farthest corners of the earth.
I had always sought freedom, yet in that moment, I realized something startling. Despite achieving my dreams, I felt an emptiness I couldn't ignore. I had been chasing recognition, proving my existence through accomplishments. But true freedom isn't found in achievements. It's found in connection, in living with purpose and love.
Faced with the question of life or death, Dr. Chung wrestled with the extremes of contentment and regret.
I thought, Let's go. I had no regrets. My dreams were fulfilled. But then, a chasm opened in my heart. I saw how lonely my life had been, how I had run from true connection. For the first time, I questioned everything I thought I knew about freedom.
Dr. Chung's struggle wasn't about judgment or morality. As the light revealed, it was about understanding his own truth.
The voice told me, there is no final judgment here. No right or wrong, good or evil. These are human conventions. What matters is your choice, your readiness to live or to let go. I couldn't decide. My heart was still chained by uncertainty. The light told me, if you are not ready, you may return. When the time is right, you will find your way back.
And with those words, Dr. Chung's journey in the light came to an end. He was thrust back into the pain and chaos of his shattered body. But this wasn't the end of Dr. Chung's transformation. The lessons of the light stayed with him, shaping a journey of healing, discovery, and a newfound purpose. Dr. Chung's journey through the realm of light ended abruptly as he was thrust back into his broken body. The profound peace of the golden light vanished, replaced by an overwhelming surge of pain and chaos.
All of a sudden, I felt myself pulled down, pressed back into my body. My lungs inhaled sharply, pulling in my first breath in what felt like eternity. Pain exploded in every part of me, but that pain was proof of life. I was alive.
As his senses returned, so did the sounds and smells of the world. The sirens of an approaching ambulance, the metallic scent of blood mingled with burnt plastic, and the fresh cut grass beneath the wreckage.
My body was shattered. My wrist was bent unnaturally, the bone protruding through torn flesh. My ankle was a mangled mess, unrecognizable. Yet through the haze of pain, I heard voices calling out, "He's alive!" Those words, though distant, anchored me back to the reality I had left behind.
The rescue team worked tirelessly, spending 30 minutes extracting him from the wreckage before rushing him to the nearest hospital. There, Dr. Chung faced another battle. The extent of his injuries was devastating.
I was told my arm was broken in multiple places and needed metal plates to stabilize it. My left knee ligaments were torn and reconstructive surgery would be required. But it was my right ankle that posed the greatest challenge.
The doctors explained that the blood supply to his ankle was completely severed. Without circulation, the bone tissues would die, and amputation would be inevitable. They urged him to consent to the procedure.
I refused. I told them, no. I'd rather take my chances. If my life is to end here, let it. I've already been there, beyond death. With those words, I fell into a deep coma.
Over the next 3 days, Dr. Chung's body teetered on the edge of survival. Despite the odds, he stabilized. Yet, even as he recovered, the diagnosis remained grim.
When I regained consciousness, I was flown back to Hong Kong for further treatment. Day after day, the scans confirmed what the doctors feared: a vascular necrosis. My foot had no blood supply. Medically, it was beyond saving.
But Dr. Chung's refusal to accept amputation wasn't rooted in denial. It was driven by something far deeper. His experience in the light had left him with an unshakable belief in the power of the human spirit.
I couldn't explain it, but I knew I wasn't meant to lose my foot. The light had shown me something. The strength within us is greater than we realize. My journey wasn't over, and neither was my healing.
Dr. Chung's journey back to life was only beginning. Armed with faith and the lessons from the light, he set out to defy the impossible. Dr. Chung's return to life was not a triumphant leap, but a slow and grueling journey of rediscovery. Physically broken and classified as permanently disabled, he faced not only pain, but also a profound question. Could he find meaning in a life so dramatically changed?
After 4 months in the hospital, I was discharged into a world that felt unfamiliar. My wheelchair became my constant companion, and the government labeled me permanently disabled. Yet I refused to accept that this was my story's end.
Driven by a stubborn resilience, Dr. Chung embarked on a relentless search for healing. He turned to every option available, from Chinese medicine and acupuncture to spirit mediums and psychics.
I tried everything: qigong, medical diets, even witch doctors. Each attempt brought hope, but ended in disappointment. Every failure chipped away at my spirit until I began to question why I was still alive.
As the months passed, hope gave way to despair. Dr. Chung fell into a deep depression, haunted by the loss of his physical freedom, career, and even personal relationships.
The accident didn't just break my body, it shattered my world. My girlfriend left me, medical bills piled up. Everything I had worked for in my 30 years felt meaningless. I cursed God, asking, "Why save me just to take everything away?"
But amidst the darkness, Dr. Chung found an unlikely source of light: stillness. His afternoons in the park became a quiet rebellion against despair.
I'd sit in the park for hours, doing nothing. Time seemed to stop. The sunlight warmed my face, and I felt a peace that reminded me of the light I had experienced beyond death. Slowly, I realized this stillness wasn't emptiness, it was clarity.
In the quiet moments, Dr. Chung began to see the world differently. The universe, he realized, was speaking to him in whispers.
One day, I saw a patch of new grass growing from burnt soil. Nearby, a butterfly emerged from its chrysalis, and later, I almost rolled over a cicada's shed skin. These weren't just random occurrences, they were messages.
From these symbols of renewal, Dr. Chung found a single word echoing in his heart: transformation.
I realized I didn't need to wait for a miracle. I needed to become one. The power to heal wasn't somewhere outside me. It was within me, waiting to be unlocked.
Dr. Chung turned his attention inward, using his background in psychology to create a transformative self-healing process.
I imagined a clinic within my subconscious, staffed by different versions of myself: a hypnotherapist, a psychologist, even a pain specialist. Together, we addressed my body and mind as one interconnected whole.
This radical approach wasn't just psychological, it was spiritual. Dr. Chung's meditations drew on ancient practices, balancing the elements of earth, water, fire, wind, and space to restore harmony within.
I entered a state of deep relaxation where I connected with my subconscious doctor. Through symbolic dreams, I cleaned streets, built irrigation systems, and healed my body from the inside out.
Over 144 days, Dr. Chung's symbolic healing became tangible. His body began to recover in ways doctors couldn't explain.
1 year after the accident, I walked again without crutches. The doctors called it a miracle, but I knew it was the power of the human spirit and the lessons from the light.
In finding peace within, Dr. Chung not only healed his body, but also redefined his life's purpose.
My journey taught me that life's greatest miracle isn't survival, it's transformation. The power to heal, to overcome, is something we all carry inside us.
Dr. Chung's story wasn't just about recovery, it was about rediscovery, a journey that would inspire countless others to find the light within themselves. Dr. Chung's journey into the light, his near-death experience, and his miraculous recovery echo profound truths found in Scripture. His encounter with the divine, the themes of transformation, and the power of the human spirit resonate deeply with the teachings of the Bible. In his darkest hour, Dr. Chung experienced an otherworldly light, a presence filled with love and peace. This mirrors the Apostle John's description of God's nature in 1 John 1:5. God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. The golden light that embraced Dr. Chung reflects the divine purity and love of God, a reminder that even in our most broken moments, we are never beyond his reach. Dr. Chung was given a choice: to stay in the light or return to his body. This recalls the words of Moses in Deuteronomy 30, verse 19. "I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live." God, in His infinite love, allows us the freedom to choose, guiding us but never forcing our path. Dr. Chung's ultimate realization was that true freedom is not found in achievements or self-recognition, but in living with purpose and love. The Bible teaches this in 2 Corinthians 3:17. "Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom." Freedom is not the absence of limitations, but the presence of God's Spirit, guiding us toward a life of meaning and connection. Finally, Dr. Chung's miraculous healing reminds us of the power of faith and the promise of renewal in Isaiah 40:31. "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." Though the doctors had no explanation for his recovery, Dr. Chung's trust in the divine and his own inner strength mirrored the transformative power of God's grace. Dr. Chung's story is a living testament to the truths found in Scripture: that God is light, life is interconnected, freedom comes through His Spirit, and hope in the Lord brings renewal. His journey invites us to reflect on our own lives and to trust that the same divine power is at work within each of us. Dr. Chung's story is more than a tale of survival. It's a profound reminder of the resilience of the human spirit, the transformative power of faith, and the hidden strength within us all. His journey from devastation to rebirth challenges us to reflect on our own lives. What would you do if faced with the impossible? How would you choose to transform your pain into purpose? Perhaps you're facing challenges that feel insurmountable: a health crisis, the weight of loss, or the search for meaning. Remember, as Dr. Chung discovered, the greatest miracles often begin within. The power to heal, to overcome, and to transform lies closer than you think. It's in your faith, your community, and the strength that God has placed in your soul. If this story has touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that miracles are real. Subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories that ignite hope and awaken possibility. And if you've faced your own journey of transformation, we'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Your story could inspire someone else. Life's greatest miracles are waiting to be discovered, and it starts with a single step, a step of faith, of resilience, of love. Thank you for joining us today. Remember, transformation isn't just a story, it's a choice.